the standards that we have is using coordinate geometry to solve mathematical and real-world geometric problems. So going with a circle one, I was thinking about this one. There was a post that I saw on social media about somebody blowing bubbles in their math classroom, and they had to prove which bubble was biggest. So they had to think about things. So I thought about maybe we could use that. I was trying to find a very clear-cut lesson plan for you, but I really haven't found it yet. So it's not as clear-cut read from this script for the lesson plan. But this has, so for this one, the 3.3, it does talk about tangent and does talk about circles, points on a given circle, finding the tangent, lines. And some of this may go with the blowing bubbles activity. You would know more than me about this, but I kept trying to find some of the lesson. And so basically what the person was talking about is the kids just blew bubbles in their desk, and they had to prove that their bubble was bigger than the other person's bubble using mathematical reasoning. So if you want to try this, we could. We would need some soap and some water and some straws, stuff like that. They would blow the bubbles. This is from math, it's about math transformations, but down here it does talk about, so about math in it. So some of them may be, estimated heights versus with the ruler, looking at measuring the diameter. It leaves a residue on the desk, so it'll be able to measure that. Some of the concepts, this is about the younger kids, but for the older ones, diameter, circumference, height, width. I don't know if you want to do any of that. So, and then I was looking at this one, like how does one prove that a circle is the shape of, with the largest ratio of area to perimeter? So maybe something like this too. So this would be real world. It's kind of silly and fun, but it could be real world ones. Desmos. So you can get a free account. Since I don't really have a class, I just kind of set up a one-time user code. Here's my code, here's my session, so the kids would log in. So if you had kids that had computers, so going with the bubble thing, they blow their bubbles, they have to prove their circle is the biggest based on mathematical reasoning, any sort of things they know from that you've taught them. But this one actually had a bubble wand experiment where you would create your bubble wand on the coordinate grid. So you have your not domains, all four of the sections here. And so it's talking about, it needs to have at least 5 circles if they're 2 different sizes. So they could do this, and they have, I don't really like the reflection for your guys' grade. This is nice, but this isn't really math. Like, I would want, if I'm going to do reflection in middle school math, it's going to be a reflection on math, not just did you like the activity. So you could have them do a bubble wand, build it on a grid. So I'm sure in Savvas too, maybe they have something, but this is in Desmos. So one of the activities that I'm going to list on here is using bubbles. So either going outside and making bubbles, trying in the classroom, like straight on the desk. So, the bubbles aren't popping and blowing everywhere, but you're actually, making the bubbles like this one. So, actually blowing the bubble on the desk. But so you could use this to go over some of the information that they know. Oh, I found this one, and I can download it if you want, but it was measuring radius, diameter, and circumference. And I know this says younger grades, but you could also add tangent or any of the other things that you teach them, for the upper geometry. And so this was measuring bubble circles. And so, so that you can do it in elementary school. This looks kind of childish, but the center point, the arc, the chord, the circumference, the radius, the diameter are actually pretty good vocabulary. So I don't know, I may download this. I may get this and download this. So you could do this in the room. It's just one of the activities. This may be a little more out of people's comfort zone, but I will put that on here. And again, you could do it also making a bubble wand on Desmos. or just going over the standard of, you know, how the things you know about circles. So the biggest one, like, labeling all of its parts and figuring out all of the measurements.